Mr. Judd, fentanyl and fentanyl analogs are produced using precursor chemicals, and most of these precursors come from China, as you just testified, that are shipped to Mexican cartels who then produce fentanyl and its analogs. Do the cartels in Mexico have the capability to produce these precursors themselves?
They do, but it's much cheaper to get them through China. The cartels are all about generating a profit, and they're going to do the things that are cheapest in the manner that's the most cheapest. The problem is once China has its hooks into anything that's illegal, they will stay, and that's scary.
All right. To your knowledge, are other countries supplying precursors for fentanyl?
No,
or its
China.
analogs?
No, only China.
Only China. Now, isn't it also accurate to say that before we did the temporary scheduling of the analogs, that they were looking at, the cartels were looking at ways to change the formula so that it wouldn't be illegal to cross the border or even to distribute in the United States?
Yes, so what they were looking at is they were looking at how could they mask the fentanyl, because again, if we have drug dogs, they can detect the precursors, and if you can mask that, then it becomes a lot easier to get the products across the border.
And haven't we seen, since the temporary scheduling of fentanyl analogs, haven't we seen that they've just stuck with the basic fentanyl instead of trying to come up with cute ways to get around it? And I shouldn't say cute because it's a poison. I couldn't help but think of that when we heard testimony earlier about Devin, that he thought he was getting a Percocet.
Yes. That's
not an overdose, as Mr. Carter often points out to us. That is a poisoning. All right. Let's talk about the ports of entry. One of the things that we heard today in some discussions down on the border was that it is true, more fentanyl and other drugs are captured at the ports of entry, but that what's happening is that the cartels are using the migrants that they're bringing across, the illegal aliens or immigrants that they're bringing across the border, to distract the border patrol.
Yes.
So that if you've got 100 people over here or 50 people over there, then that creates gaps where we don't have walls and where we don't have border patrol agents, that they can then run whatever in through that area.
I'm not aware of any intel report that says 97% of the drugs that cross into the United States come through ports of entry. It stands to reason that more seizures are going to take place at ports of entry. Those are secure locations. CBP can schedule how many vehicles are going to come through a port of entry at any given time. And with the resources, you can go through more of those vehicles. So again, at a secure location, it stands to reason that you're going to seize more drugs. Between the ports of entry, if people are able to evade apprehension, we have no idea what they're bringing in. What we do know, however, is that we are constantly seizing backpacks filled with fentanyl. In fact, it is my understanding that today in Yuma, Arizona, a person that crossed the border illegally had a backpack that contained 90 pounds of illegal drugs, including fentanyl. 2 nights ago, a Border Patrol canine handler apprehended smugglers coming between the ports of entry that was carrying fentanyl, meth, and cocaine. This happens on a regular basis, but if we can't detect it or apprehend it, how do we know where it came across? We also know that in 2021, the ports of entry were largely shut down except to essential traffic. And during that time, they had a lot more resources to go through all vehicles, yet seizures dropped exponentially, but the amount of drugs on the streets were more than any police agency had ever seen before. It did not just magically appear on the streets. It comes between the ports of entry just like it does at the ports of entry.
And isn't it also true that that even if they're American citizens who are transporting these goods, they're working for the Mexican cartels?
Yeah, I have yet to apprehend somebody transporting drugs into the United States that was a United States citizen. Every single person that I have seen apprehended between the ports of entry have been persons that entered the country illegally and are not United States citizens.
All right.